Chris, for that last half, do you feel like it's the sort of win that can set up the rest of your season, the emphatic way you did it?
I think the last 3 weeks has been good. I think I've said a few times, I didn't think we were going that well at the start of the year, and I didn't think we were going that badly through the middle patch. But we're certainly going better now than we have at any stage during the year. And tonight was good because I didn't think it was by any stretch a perfect performance. And when you're playing a quality team like that, who kind of like coming from behind, even though we felt we had control of the game, it was a risky situation, and I thought our guys executed the plan pretty well. As I said, it wasn't perfect, but even when we were under pressure at times, I thought we were able to, stick to that plan, and that's a good sign for the weeks ahead, because hopefully we'll be under pressure a lot, because that means you're a good team playing in big games.
What is it about this young group, the next wave? We always talk about Dangerfield and Hawkins out at the side, but it feels like you're getting more out of the youngsters in the last 3 weeks.
Yeah, I think that's fair, although Holmes has been outstanding all year, Dempsey's been outstanding all year. De Koning probably didn't have the strongest start to the year, but there's been patches over the last couple of years where he's been one of the really good key defenders in the competition. And even earlier in the year, Cam Guthrie, he'll come back, and Dangerfield has come back, but it gave us the opportunity, to get a bit more footy into Jai Clark. Jack Bowes is in really good form. He's playing well. He's been important to us. So over the last few years, it might even be a little bit longer than that, Mac, but we've taken the chance to find a way to get some early picks in, and we think we've got some quality young players that haven't snuck up on us. We've been trying to get them in. Tanner Bruin will come back into our team as well, so Ollie Henry have sort of eased him back a little bit. I was actually standing with Danger pre-game in the warm-up, and he was sort of saying, look around, 22, 24. It's almost sort of snuck up on him a little bit. And look, I hope that doesn't sound like we're saying, what a good job we've done, because those guys are learning their craft. But I sort of take your initial point, which was, I don't think when we play well now we're saying, that's only because of Hawkins and Dangerfield and Guthrie.
So do you sort of feel like in the last 3 or so weeks you look a bit more dynamic now? DeCone goes into the ruck, Stewart looks a bit more free. You bring in another youngster like Humphreys.
Yeah.
Do you feel like you're a bit more dynamic now across the field?
In the middle, because Stewart going in there just does that. As I said, Holmes has been exceptional all year, and Pat played post-bye, but he missed so much footy, and he didn't really look himself the way he has the last few weeks. So it doesn't take much in today's footy to make a few tweaks, and it looks like the whole thing's changed. And I think we've just played better as a team as well. It hasn't just been those guys, and there's been a bit of a flow-on effect. But I mean, today it was an unusual game. They were small, and then they started their only 2 talls on the bench, so they were ultra small. It was clear that it was going to be played in a slightly different style, and we were sort of shorter than we have been in the past too. So it was clear that it was going to be, they were after a chaotic game, and couldn't afford to kick the ball long to a contest too much. So that's sort of what I was talking about in the initial answer, that I thought we adjusted pretty well to that situation.
One of the stats that really stood out was the marks of the plus 70. I think it was similar to what Essendon did to Collingwood last week. Is that something you sort of took from that game from last week that Collingwood played?
Yeah, without speaking for others, I think most teams in the competition would sort of say, especially with the team that they picked, and I get it, that wasn't by design necessarily. They'd love to have Mychek and Cox and McStay in the team. But I think there aren't many secrets in the competition. You sort of think, you look around, and that there's definitely a way to play them. Now, you've got to make sure you don't go too far away from the way you want to play, but I don't listen to that much of the analysis during the week, but even I heard that sort of they talked about the need to not have the ball marked against them so much, which sort of I think we took as a bit of a challenge.
You spoke about the youngsters before, Lawson Humphries, just his third game. How do you see his performance?
Well, when you're trying to mark the ball, you want it getting in his hands because he'll find someone. Yeah, he's slotted in really nicely. And those sort of moves, like when we brought him in, I think I said we've been talking about him for a while. And the opportunity opened up for us to get him in. And we were always hopeful that we'd sort of sit back and go, why didn't we find a way earlier? So it's nice when a young player comes in and improves your team, because it's not always the case. I think even the very best teams in the comp, you're sort of thinking, how can we get some experience into some of our younger players? And sometimes you've got to sort of, I don't like the expression, but sometimes you've got to take, 2 steps back to take a step forward. And but we haven't had to do that with him. He's come in and impacted the way we played really positively.
He's performing well at the AFL level, but has he even exceeded your expectations?
Sorry, I couldn't quite hear the first bit.
Has he been exceeding your expectations?
Probably, but I'm not sure how to answer it without implying that I didn't expect him to come in and play well. Like our young players, we cut them a bit of slack. We don't expect them to come in and dominate. No, he's done what we expected him to do. I think that's reasonable. So yeah, we had high expectations, but it's a bit like Taconi in the ruck. If he had 3 stinkers, we'd play him in the ruck for the 4th and back him to get through it. But again, we haven't had to confront that issue with Lawson.
Was that one of the better midfield performances you saw this year? Obviously, didn't get first hands in the ruck, but was still able to make the most of throughout centre clearance, especially.
Yeah, I mean the centre clearances are so big in today's game, and both teams had some pretty dynamic players in there. De Goey wasn't in the first 2 centre bounces, and we kicked 2 goals. He was pretty quickly in the third. It was good to watch Dangerfield and Stewart and De Goey and Dacos and. I mean, the hit-out thing, I'm not saying it's overrated necessarily, but it can be. There's a strong argument that and we've thought this way for a long time with the way Blitzarves plays, and Taconi's different to him, but, we don't want him getting his hand to the ball at the expense of being able to follow up for the next one. So, it's always a balance, that stuff. And, you can lose the clearances but be really penetrating with yours. And, I think it requires further analysis. And to be frank, we're not perfect at it in-game as well because it's so hectic. So I'll have a better question for you on Monday, or answer for you.
Are you wedded to Taconi now for what you've seen in the last 3 weeks for the rest of the season? No, we've got an open mind, but it's nice to know that he can do it. I'm pretty sure he won't play in the ruck full-time for the rest of the year. But I think even because the season is such a marathon, everyone's trying to build in contingencies and some flexibility. And it's just crazy to say we're wedded to this, and then that guy gets injured and now we haven't sort of trained or planned for the next thing. So... I'm super confident that we'll play Stanley again at some stage.
How's Tom? Chris looked like he had a nasty head clash with Lockie Schultz in the last quarter. Yeah,
the feedback to me was that he was fine. I think did he have a cut? Yep, so he had to get that sorted, but no, the feedback was that he was fine.
Do you have to undergo any sort of concussion testing on them?
It's a question I can't answer, and to be brutally honest with you, I just refuse to answer those questions. One, because I don't know, but most importantly, I don't ask. I don't want anything to do with that stuff.
And Shannon Neal, he had that hit to the throat. Does he have to have extra?
Yeah, no concussion test from what I'm told.
Hit to the throat.
I'm looking for some help. Yeah, it was this throat. Again, like, I don't want to sound... like I'm not a compassionate coach. I am. I'm just not in the moment. I'll find out how he's going a bit later, but in the moment we just had to move on.
What were your thoughts on the Tom Stewart incident in the third quarter? be in any trouble there?
None at all.
Did you feel tonight that there was a overemphasis on the 15-metre, how far the ball's gone for a mark to be
Yep.
adjudicated? Did you have any awareness before tonight that they'd be looking at that maybe any closer?
No. But it was clear, wasn't it? Right from the start. It was like, oh, that's the way they're picking that one up. And
Chris,
it's difficult. Sorry, can I just finish my question? It's a really, really difficult one to adjudicate because in the moment you've got to work out whether the ball's gone 15 metres. You only get a split second to work out whether you're going to blow the whistle or not. And then you've got to work out, am I watching the ball carrier to see whether he's played on, or am I watching the guy on the mark to see whether he's abusing the stand rule? So it's difficult, but it's a focus. And when the opposition last week marked the ball a lot, and it was clear that we were going to try and mark the ball a lot, it's annoying.
Would you have preferred some communication before you run out there?
Well, only if it was communicated to them. You know, sometimes it's just circumstance. Sometimes it's just four guys who are like, well, I saw him be a bit harsh on that one, so in order for us to be consistent, I'm going to be a bit harsher on it as well, and it sort of snowballs. Like, they can only communicate things that they're communicating to their umpires. But look, I'm actually just going to say what I think about this stuff anymore from now on. Like, but it's not, don't take it as criticism necessarily. It's just like, we shouldn't cover our eyes and say, oh no, that didn't happen. It did. You saw it, I saw it, it's fine. Like, and you know what? The next game, there'll be something where you go, oh, geez, that wasn't quite right. Because it's a hard game to umpire, and we've all got to get used to it. If you expect perfection from them, you will just end up so frustrated.
Chris, in the last quarter, was it a deliberate tactic, perhaps at three-quarter time, to deny Collingwood the time and space, and with those uncontested marks, and take the time off the clock, which you've so well mastered over periods of time?
It's a stressful time against them. I think I really noticed that there was about 6 minutes to go on the clock, and I'm going to say they were 3 goals down. And they've won games from that position before, so sort of trying to possess the ball and take some time off the clock was important. But sometimes that means you get pinned further back in your back half, and then it's only one mistake and they get the goal they're after and get a bit of momentum. So it's, it's not without risk, but yeah, I think every team works on that sort of stuff. But it's just that extra tinge against Collingwood because, like, even if they're not that good at it, they think they are, which makes it dangerous.
It was a pretty fair start, 3 goals to 1 disposal at one stage. I mean, it was...
Oh, was it? Yeah, the hot start helped, but again, that's sort of, it's even more frustrating when they come back and you think, have we sort of blown that hot start? But the footy I watch across the competition these days, it's a game of momentum. And again, like when we're sort of critical of some parts of the game and some of the interpretations, you've also got to look at the other side and say, I remember watching the game not that long ago, say a decade ago. If you were 3 goals up with 6 minutes to play, the game was over. And now it's just so hard to protect that lead because of the 6-6-6 and, you know, and maybe it's good for the game that they say, well, I'm going to be 100% sure that that's gone 15 metres or I'm just going to call play on. That may well be a good thing. But I understand what you're saying. If they've made a concerted decision to do that, they should tell us. But they can't tell us sorry to keep banging on about this, because I don't want to sound like I'm critical of them. I'm actually trying to defend them. It's not up to them to coach something during the week and coach 15 things perhaps, and there might be a controversial decision. It's hard for them to communicate all of that to us. And I'm not sure I even want it, because then we'd be focusing on a whole lot of things that might not even happen and taking our eyes off what we need to do. Do you want me to shut up to you?
We can keep going if you want.
Did you
Andrew Mackie, he's enjoying it. Do you have anything you want to say?
No, I'm good.
Because I'm just repeating what he said about 15 minutes before. It's all him.
Did you communicate it to the players that you, like, I imagine the players would have noticed it too, the longer kicks required for the marks? Did you say, let's adjust, or do you just not bring it up with them at all and let them...
No, often we do, but even then it's not, like, just with things like that, like this is a holding the ball night, like just, but it's amazing you sort of come in at the quarter breaks and they're already onto it. So, again, not a criticism, just an observation.
Thanks.